Pisces, Sun, Moon and Rising. This is your tarot reading for the week ahead. Now, there's obviously something going on in the water, pun intended, as you're a Pisces sign, because your spread is very, very similar to all the other spreads that we've seen this week, the 11 spreads of the other zodiac signs. Quite a few ups and downs, a few surprises along the way. We open with the Tower card, the Tower being about sudden shocks, sudden surprises, things that are slightly shake us up to our core. Sometimes that can be very, very useful because it brings our attention to things that some illusions that we've been held under, or status quos, these things that we've just been maintaining as a given that need a bit of a shake-up. And this for you is likely to cause a bit of a dissonance. I say this because there is the Knight of Pentacles directly after the Tower. And there is a real contrast between sudden change, sudden shifts as represented by the Tower, and this very stoic, stable, dependable energy of the Pentacles. Maybe this is a kind of energy that you've been feeling recently of needing this stability, needing this certainty, needing this calm, working quite hard, both literally and metaphorically, working quite hard to achieve that, to get those things into place. And because of these sudden pieces of news, this bit of a shake-up, that leading you to slightly question everything as represented in the Page of Swords. Now, the Tower isn't necessarily about a calamity, anything drastic, but likely to lead you thinking, okay, is that as much of a dead cert as I had expected it to be? Again, these slight seeds of doubt just being very gently placed in. I also get the sense that that Tower is not only just about local things that are happening to you on a kind of immediate sense, but these might be also societal shocks or societal waves that are going through. And being perhaps the most in tune or intuitive and sensitive of the star signs, it's unsurprising that you're likely to pick up on that more than most. One of the important questions to be asking yourself this week is this mine, or am I picking something up on the airways? Is this more of a collective frustration, worry, uncertainty, or is this just happening to me on a local level? Again, the answer might be both, but it is important to detangle what is really going on. If you find yourself feeling a little bit unsure, a little bit uncertain, you think, I don't know why, I'm feeling a little on edge, but everything in my life does feel pretty settled, it feels pretty calm, as I wanted it to be. Again, check in with yourself as to, is this mine or is this the collective? One of the most useful tools that I use is just saying to my guides, saying to the universe, anything that doesn't belong to me, take it away. If I've got things like headaches, or again, feeling this nervousness or feeling kind of upset, but I don't know where to place it, that is my first go-to thing. There's actually on my website, wellnessfoundry.co.uk, there's under free resources, there's a masterclass on how to protect your energies. Don't normally subscribe that to people, but given this scenario, it may be worth looking, and I'll link it somewhere here, there, or down in the description below. But it may be really, really worthwhile having a look at that, because again, that will help you just slightly maintain your energies, look at what belongs to you and what belongs to other people, because I don't want you to get into this point of feeling a little off kilter, as represented by the Page of Swords, and it actually not necessarily have anything to do with you. But the Page of Swords energy is often kind of looking one way, going another. The page holds this sword and it doesn't quite know what to do with it. And again, this is about our mental processes, just making sure that we're not running away with these trails of thought that aren't necessarily useful. Sometimes the best thing to do is just to kind of slightly nip it in the bud. We can sometimes feel, oh, there's real value, or I'm going to understand something or have a greater insight into something if I really think about it. But if that is leading to anxiety and worry, is it really? I may have given you this quote last week. I certainly gave it to one of the star signs. But there's that Alan Watts quote of no amount of anxiety or worry is going to change and make any difference to what's going to happen next. So this is an important just a little reminder. Again, a lot of this feels slightly unnerving, I'm sure, ironically, but it needn't be. It's good. I want you to remain in this place of stability and security and groundedness and this real thing of everything's going to be fine, everything's going to be okay. This is more about how to navigate perhaps some of those shocks or some of those dark surprises or some of that unexpected news. Again, because of that, it's not necessarily a good week to be counting your chickens before they hatch. Don't assume that you've got things in the bag just yet. If you're waiting on some news or you're waiting on something that you've invested in financially or otherwise, please don't assume that it's a dead cert. That's not necessarily saying that it's going to be bad news, but one of those things, sometimes if we spend the hundreds of pounds because we assume that the money is going to come in because that job's going to be secured, and then we find out last minute that contract has been pulled, and then we're slightly left in this precarious situation. It's more in that realm. Again, that's an example. It's more in that realm rather than something bad is going to happen. But it's just, I don't want you to feel a little unsure-footed later on because you just assumed that something was a given. As we know in life, nothing is a given. We can only work on the here and now. You may find, and the emphasis on may, and again, if this does come to be, then it's likely to be in a small way rather than a large way, but there may be a couple of setbacks financially. So please don't overextend yourself at the moment financially. Again, it's not financial ruin. It's not about, kind of checking your bank account and suddenly realizing you've got nothing in there. But some of those kind of cracks that you weren't expecting to see may appear, but that's nothing that is going to have any long-lasting implications by any means. But just, again, it sounds deeply unsexy, I know, but just budget well, keep an eye on your finances, and don't overextend yourself, particularly if that's coming from a point of, oh, I'm sure it'll be fine, it's in the bag. Only once the money is in your account or that contract is signed or it is a kind of, right, there's no going back, then you can let out a sigh of relief. But all is not lost because you've got a lovely pairing within the Strength card and the Four of Wands. And the Four of Wands to me is always the fireplace, very fitting as I've got one behind me. It's luxuriating in the home. It's the homecoming card. It's just pleasure. It's just feeling relaxed and restored. There's some kind of, not necessarily convalescence, but there's a sanctuary of the home that is a really, really nice place to go. Again, the Four of Wands is a very stable card. It's echoing what we see in the Knight of Pentacles. You've got all of this bright yellow, so ultimately feeling a very positive week. So there's nothing that will necessarily undermine that sense of security and stability. I feel that if there is, it's probably the perception of rather than the reality of. But whatever trials, tribulations, frustrations and hardships that Tower energy might represent for you this week, I feel that you'll manage it with grace, with ease. You'll just take it in your stride. It's nothing greater than you can manage. And there might just be a kind of simple thing of start decorating the home, start getting it ready for Christmas, perhaps. There's something about beautification and just enjoying the space around you, really, and that being a bit of a sanctuary as well, against perhaps some of those larger and bigger external forces. So ultimately, feels like a really, really great week. Nothing to sweat about at all, despite some of the challenges within there. So I hope that helps. Have a wonderful, wonderful week ahead, and hope to see you next time. Bye for now.